Dr. Angie Speaks, and where real conversations meet real expertise. Get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for being here with us today. Today, we have a special treat for you. We have Michael Harmon, Master Sergeant, retired Air Force, and he's going to tell us about his time in the military and how he grew up, where he grew up, and if you were to do it all again, Michael, being in the military, knowing the experiences that you had back then, would you do it again? So take it away. Tell us whatever you would like to share with our audience, international audience. We're global. So there's a lot of people from, around the world that doesn't know anything about the military in the US. So shed some light on that when you get to that point.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, Dr. Angie, for having me on your show. I truly appreciate the platform, especially given where I grew up, where I'm at today. It's just been pretty awesome. So I was from a small town, Valparaiso, Indiana. I was a Gen X kid. Valparaiso, Indiana, in case you don't know, which I would imagine a lot of your listeners probably don't. It's about an hour east of Chicago. Yep, I grew. Well, the neighborhood I grew up in was surrounded by cornfields, so typical Indiana stereotype about corn is abound. A typical Gen X kid. Not much to do in Northwest Indiana. That's what prompted me to join the Air Force, because again, not much from a professional standpoint to do in Northwest Indiana, unless you are able to get lucky to get into the steel mills. That's huge, still in the Midwest to this day. As luck would have it, in 1993, 94 timeframe, not much hiring done there. So I enlisted. The thought process was, I'm only going to do 4 years, and then I'll come back and see what else happens. But two things happen when you're in the military, when you're in the Air Force, in my opinion. The time goes by fast. That first 4 years goes by really quick. So by the time you get through basic training and tech school, figure out getting to your first base, figuring out what you're supposed to be doing on the job, not only from a technical standpoint, but how to be an airman. That 4 years gets by pretty quickly. That last year, you're kind of navigating between, should I re-enlist? And, oh yeah, by the way, you're going to be testing for E5. Are you ready for it? And it's like, no, I'm not. I guess I better re-enlist to make sure I am ready for it. And
so I know you understand the terms, but like I was saying, we people from global.
Understood.
So explain to them what re-enlistment means. But first, let's go back to your childhood. You said you grew up in a small town.
Yes.
So was there? Do you have a lot of siblings? Was there like huge class sizes and humongous schools like have here in Georgia?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm the oldest of two brothers. And then my parents divorced when I was young, but my dad remarried. So I ended up in a blended family. I got two additional stepsisters. So we were fairly decent sized family. From a high school standpoint, I lucked out. Small school. My graduating high school class was like 100, if that.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Cool part is that was back when class sizes still mattered. It was, small, student to teacher ratio. So, no kid got left behind, and that wasn't just lip service, right? Teachers actually were able to focus on every student there. Which was for my high school at the time, we were a little bit of an anomaly because just down the road from us, Valpo High regularly had 500 to 1,000 graduating kids easily. So kind of lucked out in that regard. Glad I did, because I think it helped put down a foundation of trying to be well-rounded, because you really truly need that if you're going to make the military and beyond a career.
Okay.
So yeah, and um, circling back to the military terms, and apologies, I've got like 30 years of government and military jargon drilled into me, so I make natural assumptions that everybody knows what I'm talking about. But so when you sign up for the military, it's what's called an initial enlistment. And depending on the branch that you're in, for me, I was Air Force. They do 4-year or 6-year, uh, depending on what career field they have for you, depending on if you've got any college behind you. They can take that into consideration. But the other branches like Army, Navy, Marines, they'll do anywhere as low as 2 years, all the way up to like 4 or 6. What a reenlistment means is the military saying, hey, we like you. You're doing good things. Would you be interested in re-upping with us for another, term? And that term, again, that term can be 2 years, depending on the branch. Air Force is typically another 4 years. So that's what a reenlistment is. So I reenlisted, and at that point, and 9 times out of 10, most people will be like, okay, I've already done one reenlistment. I might as well just go, for the full, 20, just to try to max out on retirement benefits and, any other,
So you're
you know,
saying 20 years, and again, this is just clarification for our global. At 20 years, you can get the maximum amount of benefits from
so
military.
you, so yes. But so let me backpedal just a little bit.
Okay.
At your 20-year point is when you're eligible for your military retirement benefits. From an Air Force standpoint, you can go up to 30 years if you're enlisted, but that's rank contingent. Okay. Um, I retired as an E7, which meant I could have done 24 years. Had I gone E8, I would have been able to go 28 years. E9, I would have been able to go 30 years, but
Okay.
um,
And just explain a little bit more about the terminology.
gotcha.
Bit of
Okay. Yeah. So um, how the enlisted ranks work, at least for the Air Force, um, the E means in enlisted, and the 1 means like, what kind of rank you are. So E1, I came in at the lowest rank, which was E1, which is Airman Basic, um, colloquially known as the slick sleeve, because you have absolutely no rank on your arms whatsoever. You're literally coming in from the ground floor and working your way up. Um, and then, E2, E3, and E4, those ascend in what's called the airman ranks. And those are fairly automatic. You can usually get those within your first 4 years. You really don't start testing for the individual ranks until you start testing into what's called the non-commissioned officer ranks, or NCO.
yes.
Um, that's your E5 and that's your E6. E5 is staff sergeant and E6 is technical sergeant. Though when you get up to those are you test on those every year. Once you hit your first year of eligibility, which is usually within year 4 of your service, um, and it's a couple of tests. It's a there are 2 tests. It's one test is based on Air Force history, rules, policy, regulations, and then there's another test which is all about your career field. How much do you know, and how much of that knowledge can you apply in problem solving, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, and then so that's one set of tests. And then there's another set of tests that's called the board. so you'll meet before a board of individuals that are typically 1 to 2 ranks higher than you, and they'll take a look at your board, your what when they go before the board, your record is submitted to them. All your accomplishments, all of your performance reviews, any medals that you may have earned
Oh,
during that year. And so they're looking at you at that point to see if you have what it takes to be able to be in that rank that you're testing for.
okay.
Yeah. Um,
So it's pretty
so
much an interview of sorts.
Of sorts, yes. It is a panel interview. They will ask you questions again. Air Force heritage and history based. I've gotten some interesting questions that I came out of the interview and I'm like, I probably should have read that chapter because I don't remember that one. But it is what it is.
Yes.
So yeah. But yeah,
Is there some
so
kind of guidelines that you can can go by for this interview process, or is it just open book? Like, I mean, it's just open, like you just go in and you do the best you can.
so there's a little bit of both that's involved, strictly in my opinion. You can definitely, and I've done this, you can tap into your peers that
Okay.
have come before you and ask them, hey, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
What is this like? What questions are they asking? Um, and also every squadron, the basic unit in the Air Force is a squadron. Think of a squadron as like I would almost kind of categorize it as like a small to medium business in the private sector, right? A squadron has about roughly 100 to 300 people, depending on the size of it, and every squadron has what's called the first sergeant. They're a special senior non-commissioned officer, and I'll get to the senior non-commissioned officer here in a little bit. But they're a special senior non-commissioned officer where they go to a special school and they train in things like counseling, conflict management, time management. Um, they're they're basically the liaison between the enlisted airmen and the commander that's in charge of that squadron, to make sure that health and morale is good in the unit. If it's not good, okay, what needs to happen to be able to address that? Um, but that's a very long-winded way of me saying that first sergeants are a valuable resource in that promotion prep kind of stuff because they're plugged in to all the other first sergeants across the base. So they'll be able to give you an idea of the trends that they're looking for every promotion cycle. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So to answer the question I've asked before, knowing everything that you know now and everything that you have been through with the military, with your would your younger self do it again?
I would do it again in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. The way that my career ended up, zero regrets. I trained I trained into a career field that was IT based, and IT is huge. Not only in the military but also in the private sector. So that laid some really great groundwork for me for my future career success that I'm in now, but also just a lot of the cultural things and well-roundedness I've been able to do in my career.
Yeah,
Um,
that. What's some of the places you've been and some of the, fun things that comes along with military life?
oh wow, yeah. So my first assignment was Northern California. I was 45 minutes away from San Jose. So really got to see San Francisco was like my largest city that I've seen outside of Chicago growing up. A lot of cool stuff to do in San Francisco. And then, from there, I was in Tampa, Florida, for 4.5 years. So got to play around in America's backyard, basically. So that was fun. And then I got to Korea, and that's really started, like the foreign travel, overseas experience that I really truly enjoy. I've spent a year in Korea,
Oh,
loved it.
what's that experience?
That experience was really good, really enriching. You have, and it forces you, if you really want to go and see how the world lives, you have to go outside. You have to get out there and truly experience it. Um, I I found myself every other weekend going to Seoul, Korea,
Mhm.
um, just because of the accessibility of travel to get there. Um, the cool part about the air base was they actually had a shuttle bus that would go from the base to downtown to a suburb of Seoul. Um, the name of it eludes me, but I'm sure it'll come to me. But they would drop you off there, and you were 2 blocks away from the subway system for Seoul. And Seoul's subway system is laid out immaculately. It is so smart. It not only is it color coded, but it's in like 5 different languages to include English.
Wow.
So if you know where you want to go, all you got to do is figure out where you're at, what color lines you need to go, and boom, you're there. So we did. I got to the point where I was so comfortable going to Seoul that I would drag friends with me who have never been. It's like, come on, we're gonna go. It's like, where are we going? It's like, yeah, you got to check out this really huge mall. It's massive. It's called the COEX. They got an aquarium in there. They've got a gaming arena in there. You got to go check this out. So I would drag people just to just to get them out of their doldrums, get them out of their own headspace. So fun times had by all.
I imagine. What's some of the other places you've been?
So after Korea, I got the chance to live in Germany for 3 years.
Oh,
Yes. So living in Germany, and not only was I able to live in Germany, but I lived on the economy in Germany to boot. So I actually lived in a small village in Germany in my 3 years, that, still being in the military, but, the military allowed airmen to be able to live off base in Germany. And that's a fantastic experience. I mean, if you want to get cultural immersion really quick, live live in a random village in Europe. You'll get it.
so
Um,
you find that a lot of Germans spoke English or at least understood English? Well, how was the language barrier?
so the language barrier close to the base was actually not too bad. Um, German schools actually teach English in elementary and high school, which I would love for the U.S. to do more of that. When I was in high school, I took Spanish and French, but I could only take it in high school. I wish that was an elementary thing, but I digress. But the language barrier near the base wasn't too bad. The language barrier in the larger cities like Frankfurt, um, um, Landstuhl, Munich, they weren't too bad. It's when you started getting into the smaller
Mhm.
villages.
Mm.
I lived next door to a really great German neighbor and friend of mine. His name is Fred, and he would be the one where he's like, Mike, I'm going to take you to the places that tourists don't go to.
Yes, I love
So
that. Oh my God, I love that. Yes.
yes, so we would end up in like a random schnapps house where no one spoke English, but Fred spoke
But
great English, and he
I
translated for us.
don't know what it is.
Oh, a schnapps house.
Yes.
So schnapps house is like German liqueur is the best way for me to describe it. So yeah, but they have all kinds of different flavored schnapps. So you would order a flight. We got like, 4 or 5 of them just to try. And they're in varying degrees of goodness. But yeah, but the best part about spending that time with Fred was the Christmas markets that he would take us to. And for those that don't know what a Christmas market is, um, every single, seemingly every single German village in Germany would have their own Christmas market, and that what it is they would set up in their the in the main drag of the village or designated field or whatever. They would set up, vendors would come and would sell Christmas themed, ornaments or woodworks or decorations or whatever. And because it would happen in December during the winter, you'd have like the stereotypical snowfall, and the weather would be chill enough where it didn't like freeze you over, but just cold enough to bundle up a little bit. And then you would get you can also buy like glühwein, which is basically a hot toddy.
Oh,
um yeah, like a hot wine to help warm you up. But those were good times because other people would go like to like the larger Christmas markets in like Landstuhl or Munich or Frankfurt. The smaller ones are really the best ones because they're smaller, they're more intimate. People it felt like people were more friendly at those things, and you can actually kind of haggle a little bit on the price if you got in good enough. So it
yes.
was
Uh,
good times.
but when that
Um,
haggle,
yes.
part of the art.
Um, yes, there is an art to it. I was deployed to the desert 3 times.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
huh,
I was in Saudi Arabia in 2002 during the height of 9/11. Excuse me. And then I was in Qatar 2009 and 2013. And the cool part about those tours is because they were combat support. I was not in direct combat. So we were able to, granted, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week aside. Um, we were able to actually on our days off be able to go into the towns
okay.
downtown and go to the souks, go to the Turkish restaurants, be able to have a little bit of downtime before you got back to the base and
Pretty
kind of
much
do that. What's
it's
that?
much on a 1 day off. You
Yeah.
get to work 6 days a week and 12-hour shifts, and then you have 1 day to
One
explore.
one day to explore and pack in as much fun as you can. Yes. So what I learned early on in all three of those deployments was get your driver's license for the desert, because that will allow you to actually be able to get off the base instead of having to rely on somebody else that could drive you.
Mhm.
You're better off just trying to try to take that initiative in your own hands and be able to do it. Now, I will say driving in downtown Doha, Qatar, is interesting. It is crazy, but you just have to keep your head on a swivel. You'll be all right. It was not uncommon for me to see drivers using the shoulder as an exit to the off ramps. Every lane is a turning lane, it seems, even if you're in the middle lane.
Wow.
Yes, but again, have your head on a swivel, and you'll be okay. But yeah.
Okay, so what's one place that you have visited that you would love to visit again? Because the people
Oh,
were so friendly and the food was so delicious and the experience was just amazing.
Ooh, oh, that's a good question because um I actually have two
Okay.
places.
Well,
One of the, well, sorry, what?
we'll take two places.
Okay. So the first place is a surprise, and it may be something that maybe something that you may be surprised by, or maybe your listeners too. But believe it or not, Romania.
Oh, okay.
Um, I I I did I did two trips to Romania while I was in when I lived in Germany. One was for actually a NATO exercise. So I was in Constanta, which is by the Black Sea. So it's kind of like that beach town situation, but it doesn't look like a beach town, but technically it is. Uh, but I did 3 weeks in Constanta, and it was really nice. I mean, we were again, it was 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week, or actually no, 7 days a week. We had 3 days where we can actually be off and actually go, visit downtown Constanta. And what we were able to experience there was actually really cool. At one point, one day, a Romanian young couple opened up their wedding reception to to a small number of troops, and I was one of them. So got to actually experience what a Romanian wedding looks like, what that traditional feast
I
looks like.
videos. I know it's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool to see. It was awesome. Um, and then so for me, Romania, so that trip was really so cool. That when the USO, which is an organization that helps active duty military people. You may see the USOs in airports, where it's a lounge that airmen or all military people can go to and relax a little bit before before they go off on their next assignment or whatever. But what the USO also does is they do a lot of morale trips.
Yes.
Um, and so one of them that they did that totally happened to luck into, it, they did a Vlad Dracula tour in Romania where you actually got to visit like Bran Castle and check out the pretty much checked out the whole the traditional Transylvania um, routes and castles and areas. So that was an awesome, 5 day experience as well. So the food was great, the people were great. I'd go back to Romania in a heartbeat just to check it out, see where they've been at. Because last time I was there was in 2006, so I'd be curious to see where how it all looks, 20 years later.
So, how is transitioning from military life to civilian life for you?
Um, for me, my opinion, it's been easier for me being in an IT position where it is a demand, um, in in the private sector. So professionally, it was an easy transition back in. I retired in 2015, and I was able to. I took 3 weeks off, and then I was able to jump into the job that I'm in to this very day. I'm an IT program manager by trade, and I've been doing that for a company called Dynamic Systems Inc. It'll be 11 years this November that I've been doing that for. Um, so, anyways, getting back to your question, the transition professionally was easier for me. Um, I thought I was going to struggle with finding a company um, or a team that would have the same amount of camaraderie that you would have in the military, right? In the military, I mean, you can be with random people at any given time, and the only commonality you have until you start opening up to each other is we're in the same uniform, you're in the same same base, you're in the same unit, you chances are solid you can be in the same forward operating base. So need to talk over, get get buddy in a hurry, and because that's what's going to help you get through it, right?
Right.
Um, and you end up getting some really close friendships that transcend, serving together, right? I'm still friends with a lot of people that I've served when I was in Florida, when I was in California, when I was in Germany, when I was in Utah. But after Germany, I went from very progressive Europe to like Utah, which is arguably the most conservative state in the union. But
Yeah.
here we are. But still made great friends there. Even here in Georgia, where I'm at now, great friends that I still talk with. But yeah, I thought I would struggle with that kind of camaraderie, but I just happened to luck into a company that um, also does a lot of DoD, Department of Defense projects. So they've been in that military space anyways. So so working with a lot of people who have similar backgrounds and experiences.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a lot easier to slip back into that level of camaraderie and be comfortable there. One of the biggest things that I hear from my friends who have retired is they struggle to find that.
Mm.
They really struggle to find that. They'll go to their VFWs to try to find it. They'll go from job to job to try to find that. When I was transitioning from active duty to retirement, the cool part about the Air Force is they give you when you have the intent to retire and you make it official, they give you 1 year
Okay.
to do so. And
Why,
that gives you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
why 1 year? That's a long time.
It is, but it makes sense, and here's why. Um, at at your 20-year point, you're eligible for retirement, right? Um, because I was an E7, I was a master sergeant, senior non-commissioned officer. I'm like now in that management mode for a lot of enlisted folks, right? I actually could get up to 24 years at that current rank. I actually retired at 21 years because I knew at 21 years I'm done. I'm ready to do something new. So when you have someone who's been in the military for 20 years and has constantly known, just military stuff,
Yes.
you know, you know, it takes a while. It does take a lot of rewiring on how to become a civilian again. So that's why it's the 1 year. And they do transition workshops that you have to take. Like, this is how, these are the trends for how civilians dress for an interview. This is how a resume should look. These are common interview practices. Um, this is based on all of your performance reviews and your career field. These are the public sector or private sector or I'm sorry, private sector careers that you could go into. Um, there's also these other programs, like there are also programs that DoD sponsors where if you don't want to be if you are tired of being in that, if you don't want to be in that transition into the career in that career field choice in the public sector, they have entrepreneurial workshops that you can go into. They have teachers programs that you can get into and that's something I briefly considered, Angie, believe it or not. They have a program where they would pay for additional schooling for you, and then when you upon go upon graduating that program, they would do job placement to get you teaching at a high school. I thought about that briefly,
Yes.
and yeah, and I decided, what, I'm actually kind of passionate about IT. I want to see how far I can take it, so there's that. But that's why they give you a year. It mainly just to give you the tools and the grace um, to try to set you up for the best amount of success um, to be a civilian.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff.
So, what are some of the other things that you have been doing? Um, Projects or services or community outreach, things like that. What do you do other than work?
So yeah, that one's interesting. If only because I would almost kind of call it a platform in progress
Okay. Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Um, so during in my active duty days, and this is true of every single military person, the military really wants what's called a whole person aspect, right? Um, and it revolves around three tenets: self-improvement, service before self, and community involvement, right? So my whole 21 years in the Air Force, I was very active in the various communities that I was in, right?
Nice.
Um, yeah, thank you. Whether it be, going to kids' schools and talking to them about, Air Force experiences and stuff like that. In Utah, 2 years in Utah, we helped out homeless veterans. Um, if they, Utah had a really great program where they would bus in homeless vets to the VA hospital in Salt Lake, get them their annual checkups, allow them to do. They would have portable laundromats that would come in, you know, help, get their clothes laundered, make sure they were eating, that kind of thing. And we would, our unit would go in and, just help the doctors. It's like, with logistics, like, hey, what help do you need? And
Yeah.
usually it was, sitting with the vets, walking with them, making sure they're okay and stuff like that. So that to me, that that was passionate to me. When I retired, didn't do as much community because I was at that point I was kind of focused on um, ramping up how how does corporate Mike work?
Right.
um, how do I start juggling a work-life balance? Because I do work from home. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but you still have to maintain a balance. You can't let work consume your home life. And then just trying to catch up on, travel and lost birthdays and, anniversaries and vacations and stuff like that. Um, but I say platform in progress because over the past several months, I got to thinking in terms of I really need to plug back into the community, right? Because I love my work colleagues. I love my peers. I love to travel, but there's still something missing, right? So kind of want to get back into it. I still have an interest in working with veterans because I'm one myself.
Yes.
Um, I recognize that when it comes to the 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 troubles that veterans have in life when they separate or retire from the military, I'm one of the lucky ones. Kind of landing on solid ground. Um, moving forward with purpose, that kind of thing. But you know, and it's reading about and seeing and experiencing. We lose 22 veterans a day
Yeah.
to suicide
Yes.
um, because of PTSD. And the VA does everything that they can, but they're they're still under resourced at times. What can the community do to help out there? um Things of that nature. We did, God, this years back, back when I was in Germany. We I The med group in Launchstool, every year they do an exercise called med flag, where they'll go to a random country. Usually it's a country in Africa, When I was there, when I supported them, this was in 2006. We went to Ghana. Um, Loved Ghana, by the way. Ghana's really nice.
So,
Um, but so what the Med Group does for Med Flag every year, and it's no different from what they did in Ghana, is will go, they'll go to a country, they'll set up a field hospital, and they will offer free care to anybody that comes to them during that week that they're there. Um, I was there to help them kind of figure out logistically if their site can handle comms, communications. And I was assigned to a combat communications unit at the time, so tactical stuff. So the short answer is yes, we can support you anywhere, anytime. But the fact that, you know, we provided the support to the real heroes, which was, you know, the doctors and the nurses that were going to be providing free care to anybody who can get to them. You know, this was, you know, like this was eye exams. I think there was even a dental contingent that was there too. So
nice.
they were offering dental care as well.
Yeah.
You know, so,
I'm
you
sure
know,
it's needed.
yes, much needed. You know, because that and they set up and they set up kind of in the middle of Ghana, which was in my mind perfect because Accra, everybody knows Accra. If you know Ghana, you know Accra because that's the resort town. You know, it's very westernized, but as you get away from Accra, it really does. You can really see the haves versus the have-nots, and there's a lot more have-nots than there are haves
Mm,
when you get out of Accra. So they were uniquely suited where they ended up holding that exercise because a lot of have-nots were able to come in and get the care that they sorely needed. But that gets me back on. I know that, you know, that there are kids that need help too. Um, I actually fostered kids during my time in Utah, and I know that system has has its issues. You know, again, what can the community do to kind of, you know, try to make that a little bit better, even if it's just even if it's just a gift or a book or something like that. So yeah, just kind of looking into ways of trying to get plugged back into the community, wanting to do more in that regard. I think it'll go a long way toward getting me back into a whole person mindset, I guess.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, you can always help with Trinity Vision Global, which is our nonprofit
Yeah.
here. And also, we do international work. I am actually partnering with an organization out of Ghana. It's funny you would mention Ghana. To I will send that link to you to help.
Excellent. Thank you.
They have a radio component so that they can get information out to the people there,
Okay.
and they have a lot of other outlets. But I am in talks with a pastor over there and also one of the leaders in Ghana who founded his nonprofit. So I am diligently seeing what we can do from here to assist over there.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. And I am part of 9 other organizations. So there's plenty of work. I am part of a veterans group also that helps veterans. And I'm a part of another group that helps veterans with their paperwork because a lot of veterans do not get their benefits because the paperwork isn't filled out the way it should be filled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing in in that regard too, it's funny you mentioned that. There are veterans who at times don't actively seek their VA benefits right away, because it could be too stigmatizing for employers. I kind of see that with pilots actually. because they're afraid that anything over 30% disabled will disqualify them from, flying, commercial planes.
Wow.
So if I'm hoping I got to do some more research on this one, but I'm hoping that stigma is finally gone, and those veteran pilots can go out there and get their benefits that they truly deserved and earned.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have about 15, um, a little under 15 minutes left. What else would you would like the world to know about Mike?
Oh wow. Okay. Um,
Hobbies.
so
Any hobbies?
any hobbies? I'm a serial hobbyist. I go through hobbies um it's like they're going out of style. But one of the cooler hobbies that I've done in my time, I've brewed beer for about a year and a half.
Oh my goodness.
Um, yes, yes. I kind of learned that from the ground up, just figuring out the different malts, um, what hops make really good malts, what that yeast ratio should be when you're trying to get the beer to ferment. So there's that. What else? Um, I, I enjoy concerts. I average about 1 to 2 concerts a year. When I lived in Germany, I love to travel. When I lived in Germany, I visited 28 countries in the 3 years
Nice.
that I was there. Yes. And there were still countries that I missed. Um, I did see a lot of Eastern Europe. Latvia was a really cool place to visit. Um, the town of the capital city of Riga has a museum that celebrates all 3 times they liberated themselves from their oppressors, 2 of which were the Soviet Union at the time. So so yeah, so that was fun. I had an interesting experience in Lithuania. Uh, I was there for an exercise, and our last day of that exercise, we were able to have some downtime in the capital city of Kaunas. And so during, I think 2006 was when the World Cup was going. And Germany, Launch Tool actually hosted the USA versus Italy game there. Actually, no, not Launch Tool, it was Kaiserslautern. And for those that don't know, Kaiserslautern is the largest U.S. city outside of the U.S., and it's in Germany. Because there's about 5 or 6 different U.S. military bases that are nearby Kaiserslautern. So that's why it's the largest U.S. city, not in the U.S. But anyways, um, we overnighted in Kaunas. We did our group did dinner. We went to a bar, had some fun over there, and then we turned in. The next morning, I wake up, and we're heading to our rental vehicles to get to the airport, and I walk outside to the main drag, and no kidding, Angie, the entire main street, all of the outdoor seating, like for the restaurants and the coffee shops, were littered with with Scottish fans, with Scotsmen, all in their kilts. They were either hungover
Mm.
or they were still having fun. I didn't realize this, but Scotland played a friendly with Lithuania, and Scotland beat them pretty badly. So Scotland celebrated by mainly taking over the city. So that was crazy. So, so I collect travel experiences. That's my other hobby, I guess.
Okay. So I know in being in the military is very physical, is very demanding. What do
Yes.
you do now to stay in shape, to keep your physique up, to just keep your training or a part of that up?
So I and so in yeah, to your point, you have to stay in shape, from active duty, military. You take a PT test every day. It measures how, pretty much where your weight's at, waist to hip, waist to hip ratio, number of push-ups, number of crunches, your 2 mile time. Um, so I was an avid runner in my active duty days. When I got out, when I retired, there wasn't that big of an emphasis for me to, really, work out anymore. So ended up doing a lot, doing some walking. But here lately, past several months, I've actually gotten back into the gym, just to, due to a medical condition that I'm, treating very well, as a matter of fact. Got back into the gym. I'm doing cardio again. I'm also hoping your listeners have heard of virtual challenges. And if they haven't, there are a couple really good ones that they can go to, and they have apps. One is Conqueror, and the other one is Pacer. And basically, what they are is, you can sign up for a virtual challenge, and it's basically a race. You can sign up for a race. There is a fee, but with that fee, that includes your finisher's medal when you complete the challenge. And how you complete the challenge is you sync your steps to that app, and you can do Apple Fit, you can do Google Fit, Samsung Health, does all that. Anything that you use to track your steps against, those apps will take those steps and they translate it into your actual race for that time.
Tell me,
Um,
please, what is that app?
so the first app is Conqueror, and that's the one that I'm doing a lot of. So they have races like, that are geography based. Like I just wrapped up a London one not too long ago, and that was like 84 miles. I did the I wrapped up it was called the Romantic Road not too long ago, and that one's very kind of special to me because that is a historic road in Germany. That's kind of along the Rhine River. So that was fun and the cool part is the apps have maps, that are geo based, so you can actually see your progress as if you were walking or running on that map itself. So you can see like the little places. Like there was one that I did for Transylvania, and it actually says, "Hey, congratulations, you're at Brand Castle." It's like, "Oh yeah, I was there in 2006. This is awesome." So so yeah, and the other popular one is called Pacer. Um, and they do they do the same thing as Conqueror does. So really it's just kind of a flavor of, what your preference is for which run that you want to do. So, and I still do traveling, being retired. So there's a lot of walking involved in places. A lot of cruises, when you get into ports, a lot of walking. Yeah, I love cruises as well. I try to I've been averaging at least one a year, sometimes two, depending. So yeah,
So, where's your next destination?
my next
Like
destination,
would you like it to be?
what I would like it to be. I have never been to Australia.
Mm.
Um, I would like to sometime in the future, make a plan for that trip, because I think it would be so cool to don't know about the outback, because there's a lot of wild wildness and madness and strangeness that happens in the outback, but it would be really cool to see, Sydney, Melbourne, stuff like, those cities like that. And I've also never been to Zealand. I am a pop culture nerd. Um, New Zealand is where all the Hobbit movies were filmed,
Mm.
where the Lord of the Rings movies were filmed, and the sets are still there that you can tour. So I think that would be a really cool thing to do. Um, so yeah, those are two places on my bucket list that I definitely would love to do for sure. Believe it or not, Alaska. There are a lot of cool Alaskan cruises I haven't done yet. I would like to do. So the world, the world may be getting smaller because of the internet,
Yes.
but it's still vast, right? You
Right.
still have to get out and actually experience it, yourself,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
So as we wrap up here, any thing you would like our um viewers to global viewers to know? Do you have an email they can reach out to you if they have any questions or any follow up or any things they would like to get in touch with you for?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can be reached it's harmhouse@hotmail.com. I need to spell that first part. It's HARMHAUS. It's German for harm house. So yeah, yeah, they can reach out for anything really.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will have you back. I'm going to start doing some shows that is called Dating Over 40.
Oh, okay.
Just I would like the male perspective, not just female perspective on that.
Right.
You can just give your opinions and your maybe some of your experiences, of being an adult and adulting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
All right, well, we will talk soon. Thank you so much for your time, and I will have you back on.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Excellent. Have a good one.
Take care.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Dr. Angie Speaks. If this conversation moved you